Om Sang Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste. And tonight we're going to begin our study of the Sundar Kanda. You know, in the Ramayana, the story of Ram, there are 8 kands, or 8 chapters that are special. It starts with the Balakand, the story of the birth of Ram and his upbringing until he goes to Vashishta's ashram. And then comes Ayodhya Kand. And then comes Aranya Kand, where he goes into Ayodhya Kand, where he grows up and comes back from Vashishta's ashram, and then he goes off to defend Vishwamitra and all the rishis in the forest, and he ends up in Mithila, breaking the bow of Shiva and winning Sita as his bride, and then he was banished to the forest. And then comes Aranyakand. And then after Aranyakand, that's the time where he's in the forest and wandering around and meeting all the great saints in the forest. And then comes Kishkindakand, where he meets Hanuman and Sugriv and enlists the aid of the monkey armies. And after the Kishkindakand comes Sundar Kanda, the beautiful chapter. And that's what we're going to study tonight. Let's read the introduction. The story of Ramayana is both the history of a perfect king and a depiction of the perfect role models in every relationship. The king was endowed with immeasurable qualities which he consistently used for the good of all. He had great strength, nobility, was proficient in the use of all weapons, was possessed of superior intelligence and discrimination as to when to use the force of mind or the force of arms. And he always used his skills and talents for the benefit of others, renouncing every opportunity for selfish consideration. The other characters in the story also manifest the ideal character, the perfect wife, the perfect brother, the perfect servant, the perfect devotee. Every relationship, every utterance presents the archetype of perfection, even the perfect demon. Ram is known as the avatar of Vishnu, the manifestation of the perfect consciousness in human form. Actually, Ra, the letter R, means the subtle body. A means universal consciousness. Ma, or M, means the culmination or perfection. Ram, the manifestation of the perfection of the subtle body of consciousness. What is known as infinite consciousness on the universal level is called the individual consciousness on the personal level, otherwise known as the soul. So we have Paramatma and Jivatma. Hence, beyond the history, beyond the mythology, beyond the ethics of ideal behavior, spiritual seekers will see in Ramayana an allegory of the Odyssey of the soul. And that's really the most important issue with which we are interested. In the Shankya philosophy, the soul is known as Purush, full, complete, perfect consciousness. Purusha, the great ruler or the great seer, the perception of perfection in consciousness. Prakriti, literally, pra means before, kri means becoming, iti means this. Before becoming, this is its nature. The true nature of the soul has been stolen by the demon who has 10 heads. 5 organs of action and 5 organs of knowledge, what are known as the 10 senses. And the one who has the 10 senses is the ego, the one who judges every perception in terms of selfish desire. The soul goes in search for his perfect nature, which has been stolen by the selfishness of ego. He is accompanied by his brother Lakshman. he who pursues the lakshya, or the goal, brother determination. And together they leave the kingdom of Ayodhya, the place where there is no war, the place of perfect peace. Yudh means to fight, to make war. And Ayudh means without war. And Ayodhya is the place where there is no war, the place of peace. And they leave that place of perfect peace in the care of their brother Bharat, he who shines with the light of wisdom. And along with determination, consciousness strives to find his nature. Receiving many blessings and teachings from great sages and saints, they ultimately enlist the aid of Hanuman, the perfect devotee with unshakable faith. Rama had to build the bridge to cross the sea, but Hanuman, saying Ram's name, was able to cross with one great leap. Cross the ocean to Lanka and find news of Sita. Show her the ring of Ram and let her know that consciousness has no capacity without his nature. Only devotion is able to cross the ocean of worldliness. Consciousness and determination alone cannot go. Now this is where the story of the Sundar Kanda begins, the beautiful chapter. Well, the beautiful chapter is a beautiful story. It tells how pure devotion in the form of a flying monkey jumps across the sea of Lanka, the kingdom of the ego, where he meets Bibhishan, brother of the ego, and discrimination of right and wrong. Discrimination does not agree with his brother. To jeopardize the safety of the kingdom for the lust of another man's nature is unwarranted. Be true to your own nature, he advises his brother. Do not covet another's. He tells pure devotion where Sita is hidden. She is sitting at the foot of a tree in the grove where there is no grief. Ashokbati. No shok. The garden of pleasure where there is no grief, there is no sorrow. In the grove of pleasure, the ego hopes to seduce nature to accept him as her consort. Nature will not agree. She will unite with none other than consciousness. Pure devotion witnesses threats and gifts, fears and enticements, samadana dandabhed, all trying to force nature to submit. She will not. Alone in the night, devotion reveals himself. He sees nature, delivers his message, gives her the ring, and then goes off to eat breakfast and explore the enemy's strength. After eating the fruits of the ego's special garden, devotion challenges the guards. One by one, he defeats the soldiers, whereupon the ego sends his own son, Meghnad, who roars like a cloud, the boisterous nature of pride. All of pride's weapons fail to defeat devotion, but in order to meet the ego, he lets himself be captured. Dragged through the streets in chains, devotion is taken to the court of the ego. The ministers read out the charges of his crimes, and the ego pronounces the sentence of death. Stop, cries discrimination. He is not a thief. He is an ambassador of consciousness. Ethics forbid slaying an ambassador. Think of another punishment. Set his tail on fire, pronounces the ego. Let our children laugh at the agony of a monkey dancing in the streets with his tail on fire. Hanuman is taken to the streets where his tail is set on fire. Then he breaks his chains and burns down the entire empire of the ego. Returning to the Divine Mother, he asks for a blessing and is granted pure devotion for all eternity. He takes her hair ornament to show consciousness as a proof of his visit and asks her to have patience. Pure devotion returns to consciousness to describe to him the visit with nature and explain to him what her condition is. Consciousness is so pleased to learn of her location that he hugs devotion with affection. The monkeys assemble their armies and march to the ocean. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of the ego, the well-wishers of the king try to reason with ego that he should not stake the kingdom for a woman who belongs to another, who supports the mind. Respect, and especially discrimination, try their best to persuade him, but the ego will not listen. He kicks discrimination, literally, and throws him out of the kingdom. Can you imagine a kingdom of ego without discrimination? Not listening to who supports the mind or respect? Just imagine the state of that kingdom, where there's no discrimination and no respect. Discrimination goes to take refuge in the camp of consciousness, who crowns him as the next ruler of the kingdom of ego. The next question is how to take the army across the ocean, to which discrimination proposes, ask the ocean. Consciousness accepts the proposal and sits down to worship and meditate. Ultimately, the ocean appears and tells him to build the bridge. And so, consciousness, determination, pure devotion, discrimination, and all of their excellent friends build the bridge to the kingdom of the ego to secure the return of the pure and divine nature. Essentially, that is how we understand the beautiful chapter. And that is why it is so beautiful. It is filled with deep philosophy, with examples and admonitions to the purest ethical behavior of the most tender dramatic pathos, which is why it is so readily accepted as a classical work of scripture throughout all of Asia. Now, as Hinduism becomes a global culture, it is being translated into the symbols and aspirations of every nature which has been adopted. It used to be fashionable to compare Mahabharata with the Iliad and Ramayana with the Odyssey, Homer with Tulsi and the epics of Greece with those of India. In recent times, scholars of the stature of Joseph Campbell have compared Star Wars with the Ramayana. Ramayana is enacted all throughout Asia, the Soviet countries, now North America, Europe, and Eastern Africa. Tulsi's poetry is so succinct. It is impossible to replicate his language today. It takes so many English words to translate his ideas, and the ideas are so profound that they should be shared. The work was originally written in the language of Avadhi. It is probably a little farther away from modern Hindi than Chaucer is from modern English. But it is so much fun to chant. It can be sung in hundreds of ways, various tunes coming from the different cultures of Hinduism, all woven together into a tapestry of joyous sounds in praise of God. Other than occasional inspirations of Sanskrit, Tulsi's poetry contains a few basic styles of Hindi poetry. The Chopai is the main narrative of the text, interspersed with the Doha and Surasa, which come in with the refrains. These are indicated throughout the text by do and so, so that singers will know when to change the rhythm. There is one other frequently used meter called a chant, which is used for songs of description. Phonetic Roman and Bengali transliterations have been included along with the original Hindi and English translation so that devotees can join in singing wherever devotees congregate to sing the name of God. We have also included several fun chants which makes satsang so exciting. Ram Stuti, Hanuman Chalisa, Bajrang Ban, Shankat Mochan, Hanuman Arti, Jai Jagadish Hare, and Raghupati Raga. It is such a privilege to sing of our love to God, and Sri Ma joins me in blessing that we all sing with the fullest expression of love that is in our hearts. Jai Ram Ji Ki. That was written in 1996. So Ram and Lakshman and Sita, pure consciousness, his pure nature, and the brother determination, who is steadfast in pursuing the goal. They march off into the forest in exile for 14 years in order to defend the rishis and make the forest free from obstruction so it's conducive to meditate. Ultimately, they confront the enemy of the ego, and all of his forces assemble in battle against the nature, the purity of consciousness. And the ego himself steals by deceit the pure nature of consciousness. How many of us have had our pure nature of consciousness stolen by the ego? This story is so applicable to my life today and perhaps to many of yours. It's a beautiful chant and it's a beautiful story, but more importantly is the internal application, the immediate application that we can all enliven and empower our pure devotion to jump across the ocean of worldliness, the sea of sansar, the ocean of objects and relationships, and find the pure nature of consciousness and bring her back to unite with the pure nature of consciousness and let discrimination rule the kingdom of ego. And that's just what's going to happen over the course of the next few evenings as we recite the Sundar Kanda, this beautiful chapter. Now, after the Sundar Kanda comes the Lanka Kanda, where they complete the bridge and they engage the armies of the ego in battle. And after Lanka Kanda comes Uttarakhand, where they return to Ayodhya. And once again, Ram becomes the king of Ayodhya. And the manifestation, the perfect manifestation of the subtle body of consciousness becomes the ruler of the place of perfect peace. United with his pure nature and divine nature, the perfect manifestation of the subtle body of consciousness, Ram, once again lives in Ayodhya. And the 8th chapter of the Ramayana is called Love Kushkand. And it's the story of the children of Ram and how they also manifest divinity and protect the kingdom of perfect peace. Well, before we start singing, do you have any questions about our introduction?
Swamiji, I have a question. In the Bhagavad Gita and in other scriptures, we say that the consciousness of Purush is just watching nature.
Yes.
And that is in some ways the ideal that we strive for, that we need to reach, identify with the consciousness and just watch nature.
Yes.
But here consciousness is striving to unite with nature, yearning for nature, because Rama is seeking Sita. Is that a different?
Yes, it's a different meaning because Ram is the manifestation. He is the perfect manifestation of that consciousness in action. So now he has a goal, and he, along with his brother Determination, who is fixed on the goal, has the goal to unite consciousness with nature. And he is here an active participant. He is an actor. Now, how would consciousness act if he was embodied as perfect consciousness? That example is Ram. Now, we know that consciousness itself is the witness and the beyond action. Now, if it were to manifest in the form of a human, what would be his actions? What would be his attitude? What would be his character? We've called him Ram. If the infinite unmanifest consciousness were to descend into a human form and assume the activities of a human being on earth, what would be his name? Ram. And that's what this story is showing us. Who let the Ram within us wake up and then become empowered and inspired to act in every circumstance in our lives in the same way as Ram acted in the Sundar Kanda. It's the same story that we are all going through ourselves. We have lost our pure nature, and now we are trying to find, where is pure devotion? Brother Determination, help me search for pure devotion, because pure devotion alone can jump across the ocean of objects and relationships and find the location of my pure nature and bring her back to me so I can manifest true and pure behavior with discrimination as the king of the kingdom of the ego, and Ram also dwelling in the place of perfect peace. That's the center I'm searching for. That's the objective of this quest.
Question from Nanda from San Jose.
Namaste, Nandama.
Why could pure devotion, Hanuman, not unite pure consciousness, Ram, and pure nature, Sita, by bringing back Sita from Lanka during this time?
Nandama, pure devotion had only a mandate to find the location and let the glory go to Ram. There was no need for Hanuman to say, I'm going to bring you back. And Sita had a sankalpa that she would not touch another man. There will be no one else in her life other than Ram. I know another Sita of that nature and that character, and I bow to her. And the ideal of perfection here that we are striving to manifest is that loyalty, that chastity, that purity. It says, hey, devotion, now you know my location, go back and get Ram and let him come and take me away. And that was her sankalpa. So pure devotion was only entrusted to find her location and not to rescue her. Namaste, Dilip.
Lord Kush had opposed Ram and fought with Lakshmana also. So they are not worshipped as such. Is that right? What do they represent?
Love Kush represent the offspring of the purest manifestation of consciousness. So they fought with Ram under unknowing circumstances. Of course, they didn't fight to injure. They fought to weaken or to destroy what they perceived as the pride of a king that was trying to make a conquest of all of India. And when they found out that the king was their father, they immediately laid down their arms and apologized and sought forgiveness. So when they Love Kush are the children that manifest from the union of nature and consciousness. Yes.
What is pure nature?
Pure nature has no selfishness. She just radiates light and nourishes creation. She's a giver. Sri Ma is pure nature. She radiates light and nourishes creation without any selfishness of her own. And this is what we call pure nature, as contrasted with an impure or mixed nature, which says, well, gee, I'd like to go here. I'd like a new dress. I'd like the diamond bracelet. I would like to look beautiful. These are selfish desires because they all point to I. And so Sita and Srima and females of that comportment, of that attitude, they only desire to nourish others and to extend their blessings as far as they possibly can without any selfish goal of their own. And this is what we're calling pure nature of consciousness. Because a woman is Shakti, the woman can raise her husband, or she can raise her husband to the highest divinity, or she can lower him into the Maya of worldliness. If her desires are pure desires to nourish others, then the man is liberated from the Maya of having to constantly try to satiate unstoppable desires. There's no end. And if a woman has pure desires, then they can make a sankalpa on how much we need in order to worship God and nourish creation in our way. And then in that sankalpa, they can fulfill their aspirations and reach to the highest realization. This is pure nature. There are no other questions? I would like to begin with the introductory mantras, and we can sing these. Sometimes we'll sing and sometimes we'll chant. Sri Ramacharya Manas Panchamam Sopan Sundar Kanda Santang Shashvata Papamaya Manakam Nirvana Santi Pradam Brahma Shambhu Fanindra Sevya Manisham Vedanta Vedyan Vibhum Ramakyam Jagadishwaram Suragurum Maya Manushya Narim Bandeyam Karunakaram Raghubaram Bhupalachuramani Nanyaspriya Raghupate Hridayesmadiye Satyam Vadamhicha Pavanakirantaratma Bhaktin Prayacha Raghupam Gava Nirvarame Karmadidosharakitham Kuru Manasamcham Atulita Paladama Nema Salapadekam Danuja Panakrista Nityani Nama Kragadyam Shakala Gunanidanam Panaranama Disham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Bhaktajatam Namami. And there's a refrain at the end. Siyamora Ramachandra ki jai Bhavana Sutta Hanuman ki Jai. Umapati Devaki Jai. And let's read this invocation from Tulsi Das. I sing the praise of the Lord of the perceivable universe, supreme consciousness, who is peace, beyond verification or intellectual proof, without sin, the one who bestows the supreme peace of total unity. Brahma, the creative consciousness, Shambhu, who radiates peace, the name of Shiva, and the king of snakes, Anant. This infinite repose of consciousness, a name of Vishnu, constantly serve him, as well as those who are capable of understanding the meanings of the Vedas. He sees with the eyes of infinite consciousness and is the guru of the gods. He has manifested in the world of Maya in the form of a human being, and his name is Ram. Wow. O Lord of the family descended from the lineage of light, I speak the truth to you who are the soul of all. There is no other desire residing within my heart but that you, who are the excellent one of the family of light, bless me with full and complete devotion, and that you remove all faults and desires from my mind. He is the residence of incomparable strength and has a body beautiful, resplendent like a mountain of gold. He is like a fire to purify the forest of duality and is the one who uplifts the wise. He is the repository of all qualities, the supreme of the monkeys, the beloved devotee of the respected Lord of Light, the son of the god of wind, and I bow to him, Hanuman, who is pure devotion. And now listen to where Tulsi Das is coming from, where he's going. He's asking Ram to bless him with pure devotion, and he's invoking pure devotion in the form of a flying monkey and saying, let me tell your stories because I want you to bless me with devotion, and I want you to help me cross my ocean of ignorance so I can find my pure nature as well. Let's begin to chant the Chopais, and this is the beginning of the chapter of the Sundar Kanda. And now, before we get to here, let's tell you just what happened. Sita was stolen away by the ego, and Ram met Sugriva, who was the king of the monkeys. And Sugriva sent all his monkeys out in search of Sita. And they divided up the monkey armies, and some went to the north, and some went to the west, some went to the east, and some went to the south. They were led by Hanuman and Angad and Jambavant. These excellent monkey warriors were looking at they got to the very south of India, and they were looking across the ocean towards the island of the kingdom of the ego, Lanka. And they thought, who is capable of crossing the ocean? She must be there. We've heard from an eagle that she's there. We surmise that she's there because she's not in the north, and she's not in the west, and she's not in the east. She must be in the south, and we've covered the whole south of India, so she must have gone even further south. And Jambavant, who is the big bear, and he called out, Hanuman, pure devotion, you've forgotten your true nature. The true nature of pure devotion has been hidden from you because when you were a child, you had so many powers. You were a rascal, and you used those powers to break the meditation of the rishis. And you were always playing with the powers. So they hid the powers from you. And now we need your powers. So we're going to wake you up and remind you who you are. Let's tell you who you are. You are not just a flying monkey. You are pure devotion. And that is your true nature. And hearing the words of the respected brother of all, Jamavant, pure devotion's heart was greatly delighted. And now let's try to chant these verses in the Chopai. Jamabantake Bachana Suhaye Suni Hanumanta Ridayatibai Tabalagi Mohi Parake Hutumbabai Saki Duka Kanda Mula Falakai Jabalagi Abon Sita Kideki Oihi Kajumoi Harasabiseshi Yakakagi Naisa Bekin Kakumata Cheleki Uharachiki Undaru Rakunata Sindutir Ikabu Darathandar Hotukakudi Kareo Da Upar Bar Ragubira Sambari Tarakeyu Pabanatanaya Balapari Jekingiri Charanadeki Andumanta Chele Yusoga Patala Turanta Jimmy Amboka Ragupati Korapano Egi Panti Chaleo Hanumanu Jalaniti Ragupati Dutta Pichari Teme Nakako Ramakari Hanumana Teki Parasakara Punikin Pranam Ramakajukin Hem Binu Mohi Kahan Bisram Siyabora Ramachandra Ki Jai Pavana Sutta Kanumana Ki Jai Umapati Mahadeva Ki Jai Jata Pavana Sutta Devana Deka Janeka Gumbala Buddhi Vishesha Surasa Nam Akinike Mata Poite I Kakita Kibata Aju Surana Mokidina Ahara Sunata Pachana Kakapavana Kumara Ramakaja Kori Piri Me Abo Sita Koizudi Prabhu Kusanabo Tava Badana Poitihu I Satya Kahum Moki Jana De Mai Kavaneko Tatana Deki Daki Jana Krasasina Mohika Kehu Hanumana Jojana Pori Tekin Badanu Pasara Kapitanu Kina Guguna Bistara Soranda Jojana Muka Teki Tayu Turata Pavana Sutta Pati Sapayu Just Surasa Badanu Baraba Tasuduna Kapi Rupa Dekava Satajo Janateki Nanakina Yati Laguru Papa Bana Sutalina Badana Pahiti Tuni Bahira Ava Maga Pidata Kisiru Nava Mohi Surana Jeki Lagi Patava Buvi Malapara Muthora Me Paba Ramakaju Bukariako Tuma Palapudini Dana Asisa De Gagiso Harashi Chaleu Hanuman Siyabora Ramachandra Ki Jai Pavana Sutta Kanumana Ki Jai Umapati Mahadeva Ki Jai Nisichari Eka Sindhu Makuraki Kori Maya Napukeka Gagai Jiva Jantuje Gagana Uragi Jalabi Loki Tinake Porichaki Gagi Chakan Sakanoso Uragi Ebidi Sadakana Charakai Soy Chala Hanumana Kakakina Tasuka Patuka Piturata Kichina Taki Mari
Maruta Sutapira, Barinti Paragayu Matidira, Tahanja Ideki Banasoba, Gunjata Chancharika Maduloba, Nanataru Palapula Sakai, Kagamriga Brinda Teki Manapai, Saila Pisala Teki Eka Age, Taparadai Chare Boyatiage, Umata Kachu Kapike Adikai, Prabhu Pratapa Jo Kala Ikai, Giri Parachari Lanka Teki Deki, Kaginda Chai Ati Durga Piseshi, Ati Utanga Charanidi Chakupasa, Kanakakota Karaparamba Prakasa. And let's stop right here for a few minutes and go back and read. Now, hearing the words of the respected brother of all, Jamabant, that's the great bear, pure devotion's heart was greatly delighted. He said, even though you must suffer great pains eating these bulbs and roots and fruits, wait for me here until I returned, filled with joy from having accomplished our objective of seeing nature, Sita. So he says to the other monkeys, hey, it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard for you. You just sit here on the bank of the ocean and eat whatever you find and wait for me to return. And saying this, he bowed his head to everyone and with great joy, contemplating the Lord of Light in his heart. That's Ram was always established in his heart. He commenced his journey. Beside the seacoast was a beautiful mountain, and the son of the wind, that's Hanuman, pure devotion, playfully jumped to its top. Again and again, remembering the hero of light, that's the name of Ram, he leaped into the sky with all his might. The mountain, which had been touched by pure devotion, immediately sank beneath the surface of the earth. That is, his foot was so heavy on pushing down, the mountain sank beneath the earth. Pure devotion flew through the air with the speed of an infallible arrow from the bow of the Lord of Light. So just as fast as Ram's arrow would travel through the air, so fast did the Hanuman, pure devotion, jump through the air. Recognizing the ambassador of the Lord of the Light, the deity of the ocean called to Mountain Mainak, hey, intelligent one, offer him a place of repose and let him rest upon your summit. So the ocean said to the mountain, hey, give him a place to rest. He's going, here's pure devotion jumping across the ocean to find the nature of consciousness. He is an ambassador of consciousness. Let him rest on your summit. And pure devotion touched the summit with his hand and bowed again and again and asked, without completing God's work of consciousness, how can I take rest? What do I need rest for? I'm pure devotion. I'm on a mission for God. Without permission, for completing my mission, why will I take rest? Thank you very much. I bow to you for the offer, but I decline. The gods saw the son of the wind pursuing his goal and wished to know the extent of his special strength and intelligence. They sent Shining One, mother of energies, who stood in his path and said, today the gods have sent me an excellent meal. Hearing these words, the son of the wind said in reply, I will return after accomplishing the work of consciousness. I will tell my Lord the news of nature, and then I will return to enter your mouth. Mother, I am telling you the truth. Please let me go. So here they sent Surasa. In the energy of all the gods took the form of a demon and said, oh, you've been very gracious to me. You've sent me some food. And Hanuman said, "Oh, no, I'm not your food. I'm on a mission for Ram. I'm working for consciousness. Let me fulfill my mission. Let me find Sita. Let me report back to Ram where she is. And then I will return and I will enter your mouth." And she said, "No, you can't go past me without entering my mouth. You are my food." And he said, "Mother, I am telling you the truth. Please let me go." But she would not let him go without entering her mouth, to which Pure Devotion said, "Okay, then go ahead and let me enter." She opened her mouth to a distance of 8 miles, but the monkey made his body of greater size. She opened her mouth to a distance of 16 times 8 miles. But immediately the son of the wind became a size 32 times as large. No matter how big the shining one opened her mouth, the monkey took a form even bigger. When she opened her mouth 800 miles wide, the son of the wind took an extremely small form. He entered into her mouth and immediately returned outside, and bowing his head, took his leave and bid farewell. As she said, "The God sent me to determine the extent of your intelligence and strength, and I have understood. You will accomplish all the works of consciousness, because you are a treasury of strength and intelligence." Giving this blessing, she left, and with great delight, Pure Devotion resumed his journey. A female demon lived in the ocean who could catch the birds flying in the air by her magic. She could grasp the shadow of any living being flying through the air so that they could not move, and in this way she would always eat those who flew near to her. So all she had to do was grasp the shadow, and that being was captive. She employed that trick on Pure Devotion, and the monkey immediately recognized her deceit. The heroic son of the wind killed the demon who fell beneath the ocean. Approaching Lanka, the kingdom of the ego, he saw beautiful forests of sweet flowers with bees humming in search of honey. The flowers were so sweet and the blossoms were so beautiful that they were attracting bees to come in search of honey and nectar. There were various kinds of trees, fruits and flowers, and seeing birds and deer and other animals, his mind was greatly pleased. Beholding a huge mountain ahead of him, he fearlessly proceeded up to its summit. Now, Shiva said to Parvati, remember there are 3 narrations of this story. Kakbushundi, the crow, is telling this story to Garud, the king of the eagles. And I'll tell you how that happened. In the battle of the Ramayana, Ram was caught by the snake weapon, the bond, not pash it's called, it's the bonds of snakes, which take all the energy out of the person that they've bound. And Ram was bound by the snakes, and Hanuman went and got Garud, the king of the eagles. Vishnu's Bahan, Vishnu's carrier. And Hanuman said, the Lord has been, the avatar of Vishnu, the Lord in manifested form Ram, has been caught by these snakes, and they are draining his energy, and we need the eagles to come and take away the snakes, because snakes are terrified of eagles. And so Garud consented, and he came and he released Ram from this horrible weapon sent by Meghnad, by the pride, the son of the ego. And pride bound Ram, he bound the consciousness so that it would sap all his energy. And Garud came and removed the bonds and freed Ram from the snake bond. And after the battle was completed,
Garud got to thinking. He fell into delusion, as so many of us do so many times. Garud started thinking, what kind of a Lord was that he needed my help to free him? He who frees everyone shouldn't need to call on me to free him. If he really is the Savior, and he's really the Supreme Lord, and he's really the perfect manifestation of the subtle body of consciousness, what does he need with little old me? And Garud fell into doubt. And Garud met Narad Muni and said, I have this doubt. And he told Narad his story. And Narad said, the only person that could help you here is Lord Shiva. So Garud went to Lord Shiva and he said, he told his story. I freed the Lord. Now how can he be the Supreme Lord if he needs me to free him? He's the one who frees us all. How come he needs me to free him? What kind of a Lord could he be? And Shiva said, I can't help you with that problem. You need to go to see Kakbushundi. Now, Kakbushundi was a crow. Remember the story of Lomash Muni? He had this disrespectful disciple. Lomash Muni had a disrespectful disciple who was always talking back to the guru and doing whatever he wanted to in the ashram and never listening to the advice of the guru and being disrespectful in so many ways. And the guru said, disciple, this is not the way to behave with a guru. Either you believe in the guru and have full faith in the guru and follow the instructions of the guru, or make your own way in life. But don't be disrespectful. Well, the guru forgave the disciple on many, many occasions. And finally, one time more, the guru suffered disrespect from the disciple, and the guru said nothing, and Shiva got mad. And he said, you disrespectful disciple, you are the lowest of the low. You have no concept of what it is to pay respect to a guru. You have been blessed with such an association and such a teacher and such an example in your life. And because you disrespect that example, you disrespect that teacher, I'm cursing you. Take the lowest form of birth that you can possibly take. And you'll remain in the lowest form of birth for all time. Now, the guru Lomash Muni fell down to Shiva, and he bowed down, and he sang that beautiful Ram Stuti, Nama Misha Mishana Nirbana Rupam. And he bowed down to Shiva, and Shiva said, I like your song, what do you want? I'm giving you a boon. And the guru said, please forgive my disciple. He may be foolish, he may be disrespectful, he may be insolent, he may be unworthy, but he's my disciple, so please forgive him. And Shiva said, I can't withdraw the curse that I've already given, but I'm giving him a blessing because he has a guru like you. And the blessing is that no matter what birth he takes, he will always remember the name of Ram. So the disciple was reborn as a crow. And he used to sit outside the temples and wait for devotees to throw their leftover prasad on the ground in the garbage. And then he would go and pick at the leftover prasad and eat out of the garbage. And in this way, he passed his life. And one day, he was flying through the air from the temple, and he flew over the palace at Ayodhya. And he looked down and saw Ram. And he followed Ram all through his life and learned the entire Ramayana. So we have three tellings of the story. Now, Garud said, well, I come and bow down to the lowest of the birds. I am the king of the birds. Why? I am feeling so much peace as the king, bowing down to the lowest. And so Garud was immediately relieved of his abhiman, his egotism, and his confusion. Because he bowed down, he got a blessing. So Kakbushundi, the crow, told the story to the eagle, Garud. And Ganesh told the story to Tulsi Das. And Shiva told the story to Parvati. So there are three tellings of the story. And now we jump back in the narrative. Shiva said to Parvati, "This is not the greatness of the monkey. This is the greatness of the Lord who dissolves even time itself." So now Shiva is telling the story to Parvati. Ganesh is telling the story to Tulsi Das, and the crow is telling the story to Garud. And so Shiva says, the fact that Hanuman, pure devotion, performed all these things, it's not the greatness of the monkey, it's the greatness of the one who sent him. Rising to the top of the mountain, he could see all of the kingdom of the ego, a tremendous fortress which defied description. It was of a very high elevation, surrounded by water on all sides. The golden ramparts of the fortress walls emitted a great illumination. And now we'll have a chant which will describe the city of the ego, the kingdom of the ego. Do we have any questions on what we've covered tonight? Now you're telling me. Om Sang Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.